Hello everybody, welcome back. Today's topic is Union Executive. See, there is legislature, executive and judiciary, of which executive has the role of implementing all the policies and programs formulated by the legislature. So we come to Union Executive, which has President, which constitutes of Vice President, our Prime Minister, our Council of Ministers and the Attorney General of India. In this video, we'll be knowing about the President and the Vice President. We'll be seeing each topic under two heads simultaneously to make it convenient for us to remember. Also, we must know that it's under Part 5 of the Constitution, constituting of Articles 52 to Article 78. Let's start. See, President is the head of the Indian state and we all are the citizens of India, but President is considered as the first citizen of India and also he shares the symbol of unity, integrity and solidarity of our nation. Coming to elections, the President is not directly elected by the people, it's elected by the members of Electoral College. Let's understand what all comprises of Electoral College that this word we are speaking of. It comprises of the elected members and the elected members of the houses of the parliament, the legislative assemblies of the state and the legislative assemblies of the union territories, however only of Delhi and Puducherry. The reason why I mentioned elected thrice is because from here we can see that the nominated members of the Houses of Parliament, the legislative assemblies of the state and the legislative assemblies of the Union Territory of Delhi and Puducherry, these nominated members are not part of the Electoral College and they do not participate in the election of the President. Apart from that, we also see members of the legislative councils, whether elected or nominated, of these state legislative councils, they also do not participate in the election of the President. See, President is indirectly elected. So there has to be a system so that there is sufficient representation of the citizens of the state. So now we'll know that how are the elections done for the President. See, we as citizens of India elect MLAs and MPs, of which Lok Sabha and these MLAs are directly elected by the citizens of India and Rajya Sabha by proportional representation by single transferable vote. Let's not get confused. We'll see to the election when we sit with the topic Parliament. Let's proceed with this right now. See, we've already read that Electoral College has Lok Sabha, has Rajya Sabha, has MLAs of state and UTs. So, how do we find and what do we find to know about the President's election? See, the first that we need to find is the value of one MLA, the value of the vote of one MLA in order to find the total value of the state, the total value of votes of all MLAs of all state, which in turn will help us to find the value of vote of an MP, And then this will give us the total number of votes which each elected member of MLA and MP is entitled with. It's easy and I'll try making it simpler. Let's go through it again step by step. See, value of vote of an MLA. We have to find this first. How do we do that? Let's take one state. We take total population of one state and divide it with the total number of elected members in the state legislative assembly of that state. To the answer of this, we divide it by 1000 and then we get the vote of one MLA, the value of the vote of one MLA. Now what do? We multiply this vote of one MLA, the value of vote of one MLA into the number of elected MLAs of that state. What do we get? We get total value of that state, the voting value of that state. Now what do? We find the similar way all the values of all the states and then we sum it up to get the total value of votes of all MLAs of all states. So we finally end to the total value of votes of all MLAs of all states. See, I'm not taking an example of a state right now, explaining it in detail here. However, if you want a better analysis of this, I'll be posting an explanation with an example tomorrow or day after on my Instagram feed. If you want, you can check it out there. I'll put the link in the description below. So coming back to this, Now we have got total value of votes of all MLAs of all states. Now we need to find the value of the vote of an MP. See, who are the constituents of the member of parliament? The Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So what do? We have this value. Now what do is we divide it by the total number of elected members of parliament, which is the total composition of the parliament, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So what do we get? We get the value of vote of one MP. Now what do? We again, in the similar way that was here, we again multiply the value of vote of an MP with the total number of MPs that's there, and then we finally sum it up to the answer that the number of votes which each elected member of the legislative assembly of each state and the parliament is entitled to cast at such election. With this solution that we had here, and then with this solution that we had here, we find the answer to this, which is half the part of the presidential election. See, this was the first part of the presidential election of how the votes are taken into account. Now we come to how the votes are counted. The system is proportional representation by means of the single transferable vote, and the voting is done by secret ballot. This is the answer to how a president is elected. So, here we are getting that we have three important terms that we need to understand: the proportional representation, the single transferable vote, and what is secret ballot. See, proportional representation is what we've seen already. The votes counted in a way that all the states are indirectly represented. Next that we'll see is actually what is a secret ballot, because that's very easy, and then we'll come to our third point, which is single transferable vote. See, I have copied this explanation from Wikipedia because I feel that this could be the very simplest explanation. So what is secret ballot? It's a method where voters' choices are anonymous, and that helps in achieving the goal of political privacy. So we are done with proportional representation. We now know what is a secret ballot, and now we just have to understand single transferable vote. Everything is mentioned in the book. But first, let us look at the latter part of this page that says that a candidate must secure a fixed quota of votes, and these quota of votes is determined by dividing the total number of valid votes polled by the number of candidates to be elected plus 1 and adding 1 to the quotient. Let's look at it in a better way. Electoral quota is the total number of valid votes polled that we've already figured out divided by 1 plus 1, and the whole of this is again added with 1. Now, each member is given only one ballot paper, the secret ballot that we talked of, where the name of all candidates is mentioned. Voter indicates his preferences by marking 1, 2, 3, 4 against their name. So in the first phase, the preferences are counted after all the voting is done. If the required quota is secured, that is 50% of the votes is given to one individual, he or she is declared elected. Which is usually rare and I don't think has ever happened with us. Otherwise, the process of transfer of votes is seen. What happens in this process of transfer of votes? The ballots of the candidate securing the least number of first preference votes are cancelled. And then the second preference votes are transferred to the first preference votes of the other candidates. And this process continues because it's not necessary that the president election candidates are only 4 or 5 in number. It can be numerous. So the process continues until a candidate secures the required quota, that is again 51%. So this is it for the election of the president. Let's revise. First we saw the voters are members of the electoral college, of which nominated members of parliament, state legislative assemblies and state legislative assemblies of union territories, that is Delhi and Puducherry, do not participate. Along with who? Along with the elected and nominated members of legislative council. Then we saw that the election of president has two parts, that is the proportional representation that we've seen, and the single transferable vote. Also, the voting is done by secret ballot. There's a small portion in this page. Let's quickly go through that also. Here, All doubts and disputes with election of the president are decided by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's decision on this is final. So if the election of a person as president is declared void by the Supreme Court, we have to note this, that the acts done by him before the date of the declaration of the Supreme Court, the acts done are not invalidated and they continue to remain in force. The same paragraph and the same meaning is also mentioned in the vice president's part, that all doubts and disputes again of the vice president is decided by the Supreme Court and its decision is also final. And again, if somehow the election is declared void, the decisions made by the vice president are not invalidated and they continue to remain in force. Now, as we had planned, let's simultaneously look into the elections of the vice president also. See, vice president is the second highest office in the country, vice president, and its rank is accorded next to the president in the official warrant of precedence. Again, vice president also has an indirect election like president. He is also elected by members of an electoral college, consists of both elected and nominated members of the parliament, which in case of president was only elected members, and it does not include members of the state legislative assemblies. However, in case of president, elected members were there. And what was the difference? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar explains us. He says that the president is the head of the state, extends both to the administration by the center as well as to the states. So it's necessary that on their part, the members of the state legislature should have a voice. Also, the manner of election proceeding to this electoral college is the same. Again, the proportional representation by means of the single transferable vote, and the voting is done by secret ballot. Also, there was a small portion in the precedent chapter. It's like for an answer to why did constitution makers opted for indirect election instead of a direct election, we can have 2 points here. That one, our country follows a particular system of government, that is parliamentary system of government. So a president is a nominal executive, so would have been having an irregular and unusual way to directly elect and not vest any real power. It would be very anomalous to have the president elected directly and not give him any real power. And also it would be very costly and time and energy consuming. Coming to the nomination of the vice president and the president must be subscribed by at least 50 electors as proposers and 50 as seconders. However, in vice president, 20 as proposers and 20 as seconders, and both of them have to make a security deposit of 15,000 in the Reserve Bank of India. Coming to the oath of president and the vice president, see, first point is that the president takes an oath that he'll faithfully execute the office. For the office, the vice president oaths that to faithfully discharge the duties of his office, and second, to preserve, protect and defend the constitution and the law, to bear true faith and allegiance to the constitution of India, which is the oath of vice president. There is one more oath that is binding on president but not on vice president, which is to devote himself to the service and well-being of the people of India. So for office and constitution, the words differ, however the concept means the same. And there is third point also. Under the oath, the last point is that the oath of office of the president is administered by the Chief Justice, and if the Chief Justice of India is not present, the senior most judge of the Supreme Court takes the responsibility. And for the oath of the vice president, it is administered by the president or any random person appointed in that behalf by him. Coming to the conditions of the president's office and the vice president's office, we see that for president, he should not be a member of either house of parliament or the state legislature, and the same holds for the vice president. Also, the president should not be holding any other office of profit. The same holds for vice president. However, there are 3 other points that's there in the president's office but not for the vice president office. Let's quickly go through them. President is entitled to have his official, that is the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Also, he is entitled to emoluments, allowances, privileges determined by parliament. Also, all of these cannot be diminished during his term of office. Or president enjoys personal immunity from legal liability. Also, he cannot be arrested or imprisoned after giving 2 months notice. However, civil proceedings can be instituted against him during his terms of office in respect of his personal acts. Coming to the term of president's office and the term of vice president's office, the president holds office for a term of 5 years. The same is with vice president. The president can resign by writing a letter to the vice president, and the vice president does it for the president, so they are both for each other there. However, the president can be removed only on the process of impeachment. There is no formal impeachment required for vice president's removal. And however, can be removed only by the resolution of the Rajya Sabha passed by an absolute majority. President can hold office beyond his term of 5 years and also is eligible for re-election and may be elected for any number of times, and the same holds for vice president. For the vacancy in the president's office, the expiry of the tenure is of 5 years, then resignation by removal, by death, or if he becomes disqualified to hold office when his election is declared void by the Supreme Court, whose decisions is also binding. Remember, we just read it a little while back. And the same for the vacancy in the vice president office. It's the same point here, so there's no changes here. However, when a vacancy occurs in the office of the president, the vice president acts as the president. Also, if vice president office is vacant at that point of time, the vacancy here in the president is filled by the Chief Justice of India. However, if this office also falls vacant, it's upon the senior most judge of the Supreme Court to act as the president and discharge the functions of the president. And while he is doing so, he is entitled to all the immunities, emoluments, allowances and privileges as determined by the parliament. Okay, so I think it would be wise for us to seep in what we've learned today, and we'll see you tomorrow. We'll revise this and look further into part 5 of the Constitution. Thanks for watching.